I have some very good news for all of you Chibits, and no, I am not lying to you. I know it's April 1st. I know some might not believe because today is a day to where many love telling lies and just trying to make it to where something's not really happening or something's not going on. But yes, there is going to be a Season 2 of Rakugo. It was announced, and it's on Anime News Network if you do not believe me. So, I just want to say something real quick. The ending of this episode was very emotional to me. For one reason, not because the anime came to an end, which I'm sad. I'm very sad the anime of the season came to an end, and I'm happy it's getting a Season 2, but the ending was sad for one reason and one reason alone, and I don't know if I was supposed to interpret it like that, and if, you know, the animators that were making the series actually made it look like that. But when you saw that final scene after the ending song, now I just want to point this out real quick, if you have yet to see that scene after the ending song of this final episode, go look at it right now before you continue on this video, because I don't want to kind of necessarily spoil it. I want to see what you guys think of or your interpretation of it. Okay, now that I've did that pre-warning, I want to dive right into it. So, you have it to where Yota, he's talking, and he's, like, just doing a Rakugo performance. He's like, that's the end of Act 1, and hopefully all of you enjoyed it. He's like, you know, this ain't the end, I'll have to tell you guys another time. And as he bows, the camera zooms out, and you see all the seats empty. Which, in a way, the way that looked like to me, it looked like as if the production team, or the animators that were working on Rakugo did not think it would become popular. They think nobody would watch the series to this very point. And that's how I interpret it. It looked like as if the studio was saying, not many people want to watch such an old-fashioned show like Rakugo. Not many people would want to sit down and watch something like this and enjoy it. And when you see that final scene when it pans out, nobody's in the seats, like it's completely empty, the entire theater, it hits you. You're like, holy shit. This series, the way you can interpret that ending is if nobody would watch it to this very point, and they would just rush it to the side and say, fuck Rakugo, fuck this series, and not even watch it. And that really saddens me. If that's really how the production team or how the writer made that ending of Act 1, I'm like, damn, that's pretty fucking sad, because you realize, like, it is kind of the truth. I mean, not many people would want to sit down and watch Rakugo. Let's face the cold hard facts. I know many that have watched it to this point agree with me that this is anime of the season, but not many people in this day and age would probably want to sit down and watch a series like this. Let's face the facts here. And when you see that final scene to where the seats are empty and, you know, see the bowing and that's the end of Act 1, it's completely gone, I'm like, damn, that really hit you. It fucking hit you. So yeah, that ending, very emotional just because it made us assume that nobody would watch the series to this point. So now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about the other things that happened in this episode for the setup of Season 2, which is to come out. Oh my god, I can't wait for Season 2, because it seems like the first season was focused on the past, telling the backstory of the characters, and then it seems like the next season is going to be the next generation, for instance, carrying on the legacy of Rakugo and how Rakugo is going to change into, you know, something else entirely, like where Rakugo is completely killed off. Because as we know, with the first season, what we have gotten throughout this entire season of Rakugo, it's been implied that Rakugo is dying. It's dying, it needs to change, there needs to be something to where the people that are doing Rakugo need to adapt to the changes of the audience. And that's what we're in nowadays. In this day and age, what we're currently in right now in real life, that happens all the time, to where companies have to adapt, they have to change themselves, they have to change the very foundation of what they started with just to adapt to what their consumers or, you know, the people that buy stuff from them or whatever do. Like, they have to change themselves constantly. You see it all the time with, you know, gaming companies, to probably literature, people that, you know, publish books, so forth, so on. It's always changing, like, you know, how books are published nowadays. It used to be just paperback, hardcover, and stuff like that, but now you even have ebooks, books being released online. There's always constant growth and changes going on, and Rakugo's in the stages of growing pains. It needs to grow, it needs to change, and the first season was setting up for that, for Yota to actually be able to take upon himself to change Rakugo for the better, for it could live on, because there's only one theater left, and everything is pretty much closing down. All the old elders are dead or gone, and yeah, it's pretty much just Bon by himself now really running the show. So there needs to be a new generation that brings life to the table of Rakugo, and I love how majority of the season was set up for that, which was very well executed in my personal opinion. Now, the final episode, it takes us back to present day, not in the past no longer. Like, about a quarter of the episode is in the past, but then we go back to present day. You have it to where the beginning of the episode kind of wraps up the funeral and the aftermath after the death of Shin and his wife, and then we also have it to where Konatsu, she has to go live with Bon, and we see kind of like the interaction between Bon and Konatsu at a very young age, and how, you know, she acted after her parents' death. She was blaming Bon, very upset about this, and then eventually it led into the present day, present time, a little bit after what we saw at the beginning of the series. It's kind of like we had a brief time skip, because if you go back to the beginning of Rakugo, you had to where, you know, Yota, he was, you know, talking to Bon, wanting to be an apprentice and learn Rakugo, and we get a brief description of what really happened. There was a lot of time that passed, probably a couple months or so, maybe even a year or two, and we had it to where he learned 100 different Rakugo stories. He trained up to the point to where he is now a part of, you know, the higher up status of Rakugo. He's able to perform by himself, and, you know, he's got a lot of promotions. So the way it's going, he's in line to become the next Yakumo, or the next, you know, Shin. That's exactly what he could possibly become. And I love the way this is done, because as we know in the first season of Rakugo, it was constantly set up with these different correlations between the previous generations. For instance, how, you know, Bon's predecessor, the Yakumo, you know, his predecessor also met someone that was very similar to Shin, and eventually Shin's predecessor was shunned and pushed out, and he kind of hated Rakugo, and that's exactly what happened to Shin as well later on down the road. He was pushed out of Rakugo and couldn't do what he wanted to do, his style of Rakugo, thanks to, you know, kind of certain situations that happened with Bon, and then also the previous, you know, Yakumo. And then now with this generation, it's like Bon is trying to correct the mistakes of what has happened in the previous generations. So Bon is taking it upon himself to change Rakugo and kill it off entirely for it to become something even better. Now, I haven't actually done my own personal research into this, so I'm really kind of unaware of this, but I want to bring it up since this is the finale, and I do want to mention this now. I'm very curious if Rakugo is still a very prominent, you know, existence in Japan. I mean, this is one of my first times I've really ever heard of Rakugo when it came to the series. I mean, I've heard bits and pieces here and there throughout my time of watching anime or reading manga and stuff, but I've never really seen Rakugo. Like, I've never really seen it often, even in real life. I haven't seen it at all. So I'm very curious if the existence of Rakugo is alive in Japan, or is it dead? Like, does this story have a more tragic ending than we're led to believe? Because I'm scared, I'm really scared to kind of look it up. I mean, I'm scared to go to Google and type in Japan Rakugo and see that, like, Rakugo is non-existent in Japan, or it's not really cherished anymore. It'd make me sad, because it would let us know that the ending of this series is probably going to be rather tragic, because Rakugo is not going to have a place in this day and age. So I'm kind of scared to look that up, but I gotta ask the question. If anyone has done the research, can you answer me this? Is Rakugo still, I guess, big in Japan at the very least, or is it, like, dying? Is it still dying? And I wonder if the way this manga was, or the way it was written, I wonder if it was trying to get the name of Rakugo out there, trying to get the word out that Rakugo is dying and it needs help. I wonder if that's what the mangaka was trying to do when they wrote this series. But that's my final thoughts on, you know, Rakugo Season 1. I will see you next time for Act 2, or Season 2 of Rakugo. I'm definitely going to come back and review this series. I love this season. Anime of the season. Hands down, anime of the season. Nothing even comes close to this series. I thought Erased would be good, and Erased was good. But then it kind of fell down in, like, the later second half of the series. Just kind of nosedived a little bit. And Rakugo has continued on upward with its trend of quality, and I have to say, definitely anime season, definitely a series that was the best of winter 2016, hands down. When it comes to the end of this year, when I'm looking back at, like, my favorite anime of 2016, Rakugo most likely is a very good contender of this year, just because how well written it was as a story. Now, Season 2, I don't know how Season 2 is going to be, I don't know how it's going to affect my thoughts on Season 1, but I will say right here, right now, before I even go into Season 2, before I even see the content of it or anything, I gotta say right now, this was a wonderful anime that I will recommend for many to watch and start, and I am definitely going to recommend people to get ready for Season 2 when it does air, because if it's anything like this first half, it's going to be fucking brilliant. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You'll have a wonderful day or not, wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.